Good evening, and thank you for joining us for the SI Evening Edition. I'm Kevin Frye, Product Adoption Specialist at DTools. Once again, meeting you at the intersection of our software and your business. At DTools, we're always looking for fresh ways to help you get the most out of your SI investment. Tonight, we're excited to dive into an important and often underutilized capability, project reporting. Just a quick reminder before we jump in, these events are brought to you by our customer success team. That includes our team manager, Chris Botto, your SI account managers, Trillia and Michelle, and several of our professional services consultants. We all collaborate to ensure you succeed with DTools software. They'll be in the chat helping to answer your questions throughout the event. We encourage you to engage with the team by typing your questions into the chat or the Q&A sections in Teams as we go along. Some questions may be held for our open Q&A at the end so we can discuss them together. Now, as we move forward, we're continuing our Back to Basics series. Our aim is to ensure that you have a strong grasp of the fundamental features of DTools SI. Often we learn just one way to solve a problem and stick with it without ever branching out. Tonight, we're here to highlight the best practices, the proven methods that will help you get the most out of the software. Each session, we focus on one topic at a time, guiding you toward the best ways to use SI and setting you up for ongoing success. Please engage with us and help shape where we go next. We want your input to plan future Back to Basics topics. Our goal is to deliver content that's genuinely valuable and engaging for you. So let us know, what should we talk about next? Feel free to drop your topic suggestions into the chat. We'll review them after the session to help guide upcoming events. The report capabilities of System Integrator are second to none, and absolutely one of its most powerful and valuable features. Tonight, we're going to discuss project reporting, covering what I like to call sales reports. We'll talk about installation reports and then management reports. And then towards the end, we'll take a look at our native Excel-based reporting to get you started with those as well. As part of the discussion, we'll cover different types of reports and an overview of the differences of their data and structure. We'll provide a good overview of the report capabilities, how to create and edit report definitions, and how to combine reports through report groups. So let's start with sales reports and how they support your overall sales process. We typically begin with internal review reports like the project summary or the detailed cost summary, or even a gross profit report. These give us quick visibility into pricing, margins, and labor allocations before anything is shared with the customer, making them ideal for validating that everything is aligned. From there, we can move into customer-facing options, starting with the quote report for small jobs or box sales. Then we step into the more robust proposal-style reports, which respect solutions, packages, and accessories. And tonight, I will contrast those reports with line item detail reports, which function as a simple bill of materials. Across all of these, dynamic grouping options let you present the data by location, system, or whatever best fits your workflow and the story you want to tell your client. We'll pause there for now and dig deeper as we move through the demos. Okay, so we'll start by getting familiar with some sales reports. And I've already run several ahead of time just so that we can show you those and I can talk about some of their features. I'm just going to switch over to Adobe really quickly and walk you through a couple of options. So I mentioned when we're thinking about our sales process, before we send a proposal or a quote, whatever report we run to our customer, we really want to take some time to review the data. And I like the project summary. I think of it as kind of my gut check report, right? At the top, we see this equipment section where we have our base equipment number. Sometimes we'll have item discounting or what we call price adjustments applied. You can even see there's an option for miscellaneous parts that could be added here. And so this report is going to show us the pricing of equipment with any adjustments we make and then give us a revised adjusted total. And then below that, in the labor section, we're going to see our labor broken down by labor type with hours and dollars. So that kind of helps us understand the different types of labor from things like rough-in labor or programming labor that might be important. And it's really smart to be able to look at each of these budgets, understand the time, understand the dollars, and make sure that everything is what it should be before we send a quote to our customer. Right? Then we get a subtotal, and we'll get our adjusted labor totals at the bottom here, and there's some tax information we might see, and then finally our project total. And then right at the end, we have some profit analysis. So again, pretty high level stuff. Again, I call this my gut check. I run this all the time. I take a look at it. I look for anything that looks inconsistent, right? Is my equipment margin at 36.5%? Is that adequate? What are my defaults? Sometimes, some companies say that 40% is the number they aim for. So when I see a 36% margin, that might be an indication that I need to take a look at some pricing. Is it possible that I have items that are missing prices? Do I simply have some items with too low of a price set? Now that I see this number, I can start to dig deeper by going back to my project and looking through the details. Let's move on to the detailed cost summary, right? So this is similar to that project summary. It's actually very similar data, but in this case, it's grouped by phase. So we can see, for instance, the install phase at the top, we have the cost, price, and margin of equipment. We have the cost, price, and margin of labor. And then if we had any of our price adjustments turned on, we'd see numbers for all the price adjustments. Then we get total project cost, total project price, gross profit for the job, as well as profit margin. And what I love here is that this is shown per phase, and then we get totals for the whole project across the bottom. It's a great report. Others prefer the gross profit report. Again, similar data, it's grouped by phase this time, but we get a little bit more detail in the labor. If you're familiar with our labor types from our previous evening edition, you'll know that those labor types have the 4 subtypes that might have values. And in this case, we'd get to see those details, not just the install, but we might have management and design included or miscellaneous labor as well. So again, I don't have any turned on here, but this report would give me that breakdown of the cost side of that. Then we get a total parts cost, a total cost for the job, total sale price for the job, our gross profit, and then again, margin for the project. And we get to see that by phase. And then here we are at 38% roughly for the margin of the whole project. Okay, let's keep moving on. We're going to dig. Oh, sorry, we're not quite there. Trying to jump the gun. We're gonna move into so these reports I just showed, these are really those internal reports, right? This is our review process, right? We build our project, we get our bill of materials in place. We're going to take a look at the numbers. Once we start to feel good about that, we might then run something like a proposal report. So here is a standard proposal report. I ran it by location. And as I go through, there's a cover page, and then we start to see the breakdown of data by location. So there's a room called the roping walls area. In fact, this project is it's a climbing facility, so it has room names related to climbing spaces, right? There's actually a location description, so we get a bit of a scope story by location, so we can see what's happening room by room with a narrative. And then we see our bill of materials. We get pricing for our line items. And in this case, we have an equipment subtotal, a labor subtotal, and then a subtotal for the room. And this continues room by room as we go through the proposal report, right? And then as we scroll to the bottom, we get to our project summary. And in this case, the project summary is really simple. It's an equipment subtotal, it's a labor subtotal, sales tax, and the grand total, signature lines. And then this also has an option to include a scope of work. It's kind of cool. The scope of work can be here at the end, or it can be right after the cover page. That is built in to all of the proposal reports. So next, let's take a look at the line item detail report. Now, I want you to notice that right away, it's very similar to the proposal report. We see this roping walls area. We see that same location description. And then we see what looks like a similar equipment list. But I want to make a distinction here. I want you to recognize that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 10 line items. That's the first thing I want you to notice is this room shows 10 line items in the line item detail. And then notice that the subtotal is only the equipment subtotal. So two things that are right away a little bit different. So then let's go back to the proposal report and let's compare that. What I want you to see here is that in the proposal version, we only see 5 line items, and then the subtotal is different. We're going to talk about this in a moment, but this is part of the report definitions that drive this in these reports, as well as so that's one of the settings here in the subtotal. That is a difference that is set in the report definition, and I'll show you how to do that. And then there's a difference, kind of a core difference between proposal reports and line item detail reports. Remember, I said that proposal reports respect solutions and packages and accessories. So in this case, multiple items, in fact, every item in this location has accessories. I know this because right at the bottom, there's a note that says price includes accessories. And this little asterisk by each item, by each price, lets me know that the price is actually including the price of accessories. But because of some settings in the report definition I chose, I told it to summarize the accessories. I don't want to see those details, but if I show the line item detail report, I get all of the details, right? So that is kind of a core difference. Line item detail is always going to show us all of the parts and pieces. The proposal report gives us the ability to kind of custom curate a narrative to show or hide some details as we see fit. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on now. Next up, we are going to talk about report definitions, and I know I was just alluding to that. So let's take a look here. I like to think of report definitions as configurations of a report. They let you decide exactly how a report should look and behave. In other words, a report definition is where you set your desired grouping, so like location or system. You get to choose certain fields that might show or hide, maybe showing line item pricing, maybe showing or hiding accessories. Do I want to see subtotals for each group? There are lots of options in the report definitions. And really, you're just adjusting specific features of the report to match your workflow. You can think of it as a template or a preset for that type of report. By using report definitions, you can save time and you can ensure consistency. Once you've configured a report definition the way you like it, you can run that report the same way every time. It's a simple but powerful way to tailor SI's reporting to fit your business needs. So let's take a look at some report definitions and how they work. I'm going to switch over to a project I have, and I'm going to come up here to reports, and I'm going to click run reports and go to client. And I really like the proposal style report. So maybe, yeah, this proposal with images. So here's what you need to know. What I just selected, proposal with images, that's the report. And underneath it, when I open this little plus, these are the report definitions. There's a by category definition, by location, by system. There are many options. These reports ship with SI with lots of options built in, and you can add your own. So let's take a look. If I right click on the by location definition, I can choose to edit the report definition, right? You can see at the top where the name is, and there's two options here, grouping and parameters. So let's start with grouping. And notice it simply has a grouping option that says location. If I click the drop down, we can see other options, phase, we can see system, as well as some others that are included here. So the idea is we can decide how to group the data for this particular report. And we're not going to get too far into it, but the grouping can be multiple groups. So for instance, I could show by location And then maybe I want to see the systems. So I could say by location, by system. And so first I would see the room names, and then under each room name, items that are associated with different systems. Notice over here on the right, you can see my system names. If items are associated with those systems, they would then be grouped within the appropriate systems as well. So you can switch this and make it first by system. So we would see something like distributed audio system, and then we would see the speakers and different devices that are in each location throughout the building. So grouping is really powerful and it's very flexible, to meet your needs. Let's take a look at parameters. I want you to remember when we looked at the proposal report and when we got to the summary, it had equipment, labor, tax, and a grand total. So the labor was a single line, but if I check this box, I'll get to see labor by labor type. So it's going to give me a breakdown. I also want you to notice the summarize packages and the summarize accessories options. So in the previous proposal I ran, I had these both set to all, which basically says no matter what, always summarize my report. Keep it as simple as possible. Don't show the details. This is a common setting. Item is really cool because item says that in the project, each item, whether it's a package or an item with accessories, there's a checkbox in the item or in the package that determines whether to show or hide the details in client reports. And so when you set it to item here in the report definition, it looks at the items in the report as it runs and it respects that setting. So in some cases, you might choose to summarize certain packages or items, and in other cases, you might want to show some details. So again, very flexible, very powerful feature. We have some other options, like for instance, do I want to show item pricing? So I'm going to turn that off just so you can see how this works. And then as we go down, I want you to see right here, show dynamic group section totals. I know that sounds complicated. Dynamic groups are these groups here. So if it's location or it's system, I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. That's what that means. So if I have this box checked, I get a subtotal for each group. Okay, pretty straightforward stuff. And then if you remember, the proposal showed equipment and labor subtotals for each group. That was because this box is checked. So I'll uncheck it so you can see the simple version. And in this case, the section subtotal by default will only show the equipment subtotal. And here's where you can choose to turn on your scope of work that's built in here directly in the proposal report. This is actually one of the newer parameter options that was added in the last year or so. Okay, so let's go ahead and save these changes to our definition. And now I'm going to choose to run this version of the report, this definition, I should say. So it's going to be very similar to the one that we ran before, but with a couple of changes that we made. So let's go through right away. The first thing we notice, there's no line item pricing. It's all been turned off. And I left the grouping, or sorry, the summarization of packages and accessories set to item. And suddenly we see this camera, and then underneath it, these items that are underneath here that are kind of indented is a bracket and a Cat6 cable that are accessories of the camera. So because we set it to item, and this particular camera does not say to summarize, it's actually now showing me the details, but the pricing is turned off. When I get to the subtotal, I get my equipment subtotal as I mentioned. Now let's go down to the summary and take a look at what changed there. So now we can see the big changes. We have equipment still, we have sales tax, but in between we have 5 or 6 labor types showing to give us some details about our labor. So again, that is how report definitions work. Now, last thing, if I want to create my own, I'll come to pick the report that I want to start with, right click on it, choose to do a new report definition. I will start by giving it a name here. I will pick some grouping option like location or system, and then I'll go ahead and set my parameter options. And that is now my new report definition. It's that simple. And that'll be stored here in my report, and I can run that again and again with my custom configuration if I need it. Okay, so let's keep going. Sorry, I guess I just did all of that. So now let's talk installation reports. These are the reports that are going to support your field teams and various installation workflows. Sometimes we're going to get maybe like a checklist report that's going to help us understand, what to install, where to install it, how many to install in any given room, possibly. And I love that they tie directly to the structure of the project. So when we were looking at that sample project, right, all the items are assigned to locations, to systems, all the devices have phases. So if these are concepts that make sense to the way that you approach projects, specifically installation of projects and management of projects, these are all possible options when I run installation reports. I can group the data by location or system or phase. So lots of options. And some common examples of install reports might be there's a checklist with install status. There's a similar report in the management reports. We'll take a look at both. We have wire checklists, wire connection reports, and wire labels. So there's lots of options here. Let me show you a couple of samples real quick. And we'll keep going. I want to start with that checklist report. So here's a checklist report, and it's run by location. You can see various devices by the room that they're located in. So we can see the make and model. There's even a checkbox to check them off. We can see their component IDs. So if you remember, I didn't really show the details, but I do have some drawings here. And each item in this project has an ID, a component ID. The cables have IDs, all of that. And so that's what we're referencing on this report. So not only can I identify the room that it's in, go look at my set of drawings, I can see the specific ID of the device and exactly where it's located on the set of blueprints, right? And there's some other information, like as we move through our projects, we can run this report again for these larger jobs, and we can start to see things that have been installed. Possibly we might have install notes. So at that point, it might be something that a project manager uses or a lead tech uses to go through and kind of validate and commission the project as they see progress over time on those larger jobs. Let's keep going here. We're going to take a look at the wire checklist. So I spent many years designing and engineering systems in D-Tools in this exact solution. And the wire checklist was one of my go-tos, right? If I want to send a team out in the field to do a rough-in or a pre-wire, they largely need, at the very minimum, a wire checklist by location. So it shows me every room with every cable, where it's located in a room and what's the head end. So the head end location would be, so in this case, the head end AV designation. Back on the prints, right, on the drawings, there's a equipment rack in a room with the AV label on it. That tells me that these cables go to that equipment rack, right? It could be a lighting panel, it could be a security panel, a network panel, or various racks in a job. But the head end helps us understand where one end of the cable is, and the to location, right, the actual room the device is located in, helps us understand the other end. Again, we see the type of cable, we see the wire number. We even have a comment section. So if I have this out in the field, I can check things off. I can put some notes. This is a very valuable document. So let's keep moving, and we're going to talk a little bit more about, sorry, I keep getting a little ahead of myself there in the presentation, but that's all right. So we'll talk about management reports next. So the reports that help project managers and even your executives or business owners, your operations teams to understand projects, how to plan those projects, how to understand the budgets, and maybe even how to understand how well you're doing delivering these projects, right? There's a lot of different options here. With the right data in place, the management reports can tell us a lot. Examples. And sorry, I break up these management reports in kind of two types, right? The financial and budgetary reports. So things like the project summary, the detailed cost summary, project hours, those things that kind of help me with planning, versus some scheduling and maybe project delivery reports. So my checklist, my pick list, even purchase order requests. So let's take a quick look at a few samples there. So we have a checklist report. So we had another checklist we looked at. This one is a little bit different. It shows up under the management report options, and it's a little bit more, gives me a little bit more detail about the devices. So I can see the room, I can see the system, I see the actual device make and model, its ID, even the category and subcategory. So, whether or not this is what you want to see, it's just a little bit different version, gives me a little bit different set of data. Okay. And then the last one I want you to see is this purchase order request. So many of you know we have a full purchasing system built into the software that allows me to issue POs against the projects. But sometimes it's really nice to be able to filter some data in a project, select it, and run a report to say, these are things I need you to order. And I can send that to the purchasing team, and then they have a quick reference to understand what they need to get on their POs and order for me. So purchase order request is still, I think, a very valid report, even though it's been around for years and years in the software, and a lot of companies sort of ignore it. I still think it's a really nice option to just give me easy access to communicate important details to other stakeholders in my projects, right? So there's that. Okay, let's keep going. So couple of more quick things. So report groups. Report groups are really powerful in the sense that they give you the ability to combine multiple reports into a single repeatable output, right? So instead of having to run multiple reports and kind of assemble them together, report groups allow us to say, I want to run something like a cover page, a company profile, a scope of work, a system or location summary, a proposal, and maybe a contract. Or on the management side, maybe I want to pick 2 or 3 of my management reports and just have them combined together so I can click one button and I get all 3 reports. That's the idea of report groups. So they're very simple, and I'm going to show you exactly how they work. We're going to go right back to the main SI app, and I'm going to click Projects in the corner and go to Reports. This launches the Report Explorer. And right at the top, I'm going to click Group and click New. So I'm going to do a quick example of a proposal report. I could spell that, report package, right? And here on the left, I'm going to go to client reports, and I'm going to start picking things. I want the company profile. I want the contract. Hey, I even want this change order history. I haven't done this one before, but it's just kind of cool. I'll put in the cover page. I will go to proposal, and maybe I'll do by location. And I want to show you there's going to be a couple of things that are going to get goofy when I do this. And I want maybe that's it. Maybe that gets me started. So let's go and order these. Let's put the cover page at the top and then the profile. And then we'll take the proposal and we'll put the contract at the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to save that. And so now I'm going to have a group. If I go back to groups, I can edit, and you'll see that I actually have this group, and you can see the reports I've included. Now, an important aspect of this is that whichever definition I pick of a report is what you'll see. So notice it says no grouping, the proposals by location. Okay, so let's pop back to our project really quickly, and I'll run reports and pick groups. And then here we go. I have my proposal report package, and you can see the reports included. I'll run this, and I want you to see there's going to be a small problem. We're going to get multiple copies of the cover page because the proposal definition includes the cover page, so we're going to see it twice, but we can fix that. And I am noticing that spending a little bit more time than I want, so I'm going to keep moving fast. So we have our cover page, we have our company profile, and then we get the cover page again. So let's go fix that. I'm going to pop back over to my Report Explorer, and I'm going to pick under Client. I'm going to go to the proposal report, and I'm going to go to that by location. Now, I could just create a new definition, but in this case, I'm simply going to edit this definition, and I'm going to say that I would like to hide the cover page, right? And I'll save that. And then, so that definition is already included in my report group. So if I go run it again, it will actually hide it this time. Right? So that's part of the power of these definitions. Not only can I use them to configure specific reports, but then I can even use them in the way that I leverage report groups. Okay, so now we get the cover page, the company profile, and then we go right into the proposal details. We're going to get down to our summary here eventually. There's our project summary. This is that change order history. Now, technically, I wouldn't include this unless I was running this on a change order, so I could do that real quick. And then our contract at the end. In fact, do I have... I guess I, here, let's try this real quick. Let's reset here. Let's try to run this and see if it'll let me run it. Nope, it doesn't want to pick my change order for some reason. Um, because I'm not picking the right button. Include change order history right down there. That's where the data comes from. So next time we'll dig in a little deeper here. But if I pick a change order, I can show change order history, and then I can get it to populate sort of a history of my change orders. But let's keep moving just for time's sake. Now, I do want to show one more thing. I think I have enough time. I feel like it's worth showing, even though I've been going a little bit longer than I wanted. I want to show you really quickly the power of Excel-based reports. We talk a lot about customizing reports, and we do that for customers. It's actually a big part of our business, but it's really complicated and it's expensive, right? It's a big investment. And so sometimes it's just nice to have some options to get natively be able to get data that you can configure out of DTools into Excel to do with as you choose. And the Excel-based reports, again, I mentioned earlier, I think that haven't always been a fan of these reports, but I've come across some really cool use cases. And there's a simple wizard kind of approach that lets you pick the data you want. So let me start really quickly here. I'm going to run a wire connection report. So to do this, I have to kind of do some filtering. So I'm going to remove the grouping, and I'm going to not include accessories with their parents. I'm going to do some quick filtering here. You can replicate all of this. I'm going to filter this by category and pick only wires. So that's a requirement of these reports. I kind of have to tell them ahead of time. I have to give them a specific data set. So sorry, I need to go back to my drawing and go to my schematic. So these wires are now on the page, and now when I view them, I can see these blue dots show me these are on the page. So I'm just going to filter to here and pick all of the wires. When I go to run the report, I'm going to say it's the selected item, so this selection, and then I'm going to come down to Excel reports, and I'm going to run the Excel wire connections report. This is a pretty cool report. I have this vision of handing this report to a technician who's maybe going to be doing a rack build in-house. He can pull up a laptop. He can be color coding and highlighting the data in here with all the details about this, about this system. We have the from connections, the to connections. So we get every detail of the IDs of the devices, the manufacturer, the model, even the connection types, what room it's located in. I mean, there's so much detail here. These are all editable. You can create them yourself, and it's as simple as this. If I go back to that report explorer, I can click Excel. I can choose to use the advanced data set. I can give my report a name. I'll just call it test. Notice if you're a developer, if you're familiar with Excel macros, you can make it macro enabled, which allows you to run code against the data. If you keep the Excel file open, once this wizard is closed, it will keep the Excel open where you can have access to the file and you can edit it. I'm just going to click next. Here's the data I get to choose. So I'm going to do something really simple. Manufacturer, model, quantity, and I'm going to come down here and find my product URL. And I'm going to click over. I'm going to click next. I'm going to let it do default aggregation, and here's what that means. It's choosing that it's going to aggregate the rows on manufacturer, model, and URL, and then it's going to summarize my quantities for me. So for instance, if it's more than one of the same model, it'll show me the quantity. I'm going to click finish, and then this report's going to be done. And now it's in my list. If I go back to my project, I can simply clear out my filters, go to run Excel reports, and there's my test report. You too can build these. I would encourage you to explore these Excel-based reports if you're looking for options to get large sets of kind of project data out in various forms. And I guess I accidentally did not clear the filter up here when I ran it. It's still on the selected items. So we only got a couple of items, but you can see the manufacturer, the model, the URL, and the quantities of these items. So this was very quick. Go to our documentation site. It's at docs.d-tools.com. frye.com and search for Excel reports. And there's a few examples of how to build these, and I would encourage you to check it out. Okay, so we took a look at that, and here are our key takeaways, right? SI offers really powerful reporting tools, and you need to explore them further, right? We're here to help, but I believe if you spend time, thank you, Tamara. She put the documentation for the Excel reports in the chat, so take a look at that. But I think one of the big takeaways here is there's a lot of power here. Spend the time to get to know these tools before you come asking us for custom reports or for a bunch of help, right? Like, get to know the software, get to know how these reports work. We're here to help for sure, but you need to spend the time to get comfortable with it because there are a lot of options. Leverage report definitions and consider report groups. These will help you have more consistency when you run reports. And then, as you saw really briefly, these Excel-based reporting tools, it's another way to get some flexibility where you can get some custom output without necessarily writing custom code. So I hope that has been valuable. And that does complete the presentation for tonight. And so to just, I did give this quick recap about what we talked about. And I want to make sure that as we move into our Q&A, there's just a couple of quick announcements. If you'd like to ask a question live, go ahead and use the raise hand option in your Teams window and drop a brief note in the chat about what you'd like to discuss. That'll help us keep things organized. You can also just type your questions directly into the chat or into the Q&A section, and we'll handle them that way. When you're called on, just remember, you need to unmute your microphone. We can't do it for you, so you'll need to unmute your mic so we can hear you loud and clear. And now I'd like to hand it over to Trillia, one of your SI account managers, who will be moderating our Q&A session.
Hi, good evening. Thanks, Kevin. Like Kevin mentioned, of course, if you guys have any questions that come up, please feel free to type them into the chat or raise your hand, and we will go ahead and take you off of mute so you can go ahead and get that question asked, and we can help you get it answered. But I do think we have our team members kind of monitoring the chat. I don't think we have any questions currently. I'll give you guys a few minutes to kind of see if you come up with anything. But in the meantime, Kevin, I have a question for you. Is it possible to change the name of miscellaneous parts in a proposal?
Kevin, you're muted.
Sorry, thank you. Thanks for that question, Trilly. It's a great one. It kind of gives us two things to talk about. One is your question is a great one in the sense that it's a really cool feature that we have here, but also it just gives us a chance to dig into the report settings a little bit. Because there's a lot going on here, and I always have to kind of pick and choose what I discuss. So this is a little bit more of an advanced topic at times. So, but let's take a look here. I went to report settings. It opens this window, and under summary, right, which is where we see things like miscellaneous parts. So we see that equipment, labor, tax, and grand total. If we had miscellaneous parts, we'd see those as well. And so here, let me show you a quick example of that. So I do have, I believe, a change order pending in my job. I do, and let's do this. Let's see. So we do have some items here added on a change order, and I'm going to go up to settings real quick, and I'm going to go to my price adjustments. And down here under the change order, I'm going to turn on a 3% miscellaneous parts adjustment so that we can see that. So let me go ahead and run just a quick proposal report, and let's take a look at that. So because I'm filtered to only show my pending change order, yeah, notice the report turns into a change order, and we can see some various items, and then we get our summary, and notice there's miscellaneous parts of 2166. So the question was, can I change that? Maybe I want to call that something else. Maybe I want to call that something like, I'll go to summary, and right here under miscellaneous parts adjustment, what if I want to call that something like installation parts. Some companies say things like that, right? So I'm going to give it a different name. And I want you to also notice discount display name, labor display name, right? If you're in the UK and you spell labor with a U, you can change it right there. And we're gonna get that adjusted. So there's some others here. So just pay attention to this if you want to make a few adjustments. I'll go again and quickly run my report and we'll see those changes. There we have it, installation parts. And for all of our friends in the UK, we have labor. Thanks for that question. That's a great one. What else do we have?
Awesome,
What's next?
Let's see.
It's a little quiet over here in the chat.
Yes, I did see that. Let's
I'm
see.
noticing a number.
We do have a hand.
Noticing a number of AI note takers, and as far as I know, they don't ask questions. So, yeah, Dalton.
Looks like Dalton has his hand up. Let me get
Let's
him.
see. Allow Mike. I got that
Yes.
for you. Hey, Dalton, there you go. You should be live.
Hello.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good, Dalton. How's it going?
Good. On contract reports, I think I can't remember if I saw it on a forum or something, but I've used contract reports as part of a report group with a proposal, and then tried to put that onto the customer portal and have signatures go on there. And for some reason, I can't get our company signature to show up on both documents. The customer's signature will show up on the proposal and the contract, but ours only shows up on one. And I want to say it's the proposal.
Yes, definitely. I know it'll go on the proposal. Let's take a look. Interesting. So it does have both options here. I'm not sure if there's something in this report. So let me make two comments. Number one, we'll take a look at that and see if there's a bug in this report possibly. But I want to make another observation. Are you by chance running this default contract report? And I guess and then the other question is, have you looked at it? Because if you're running the default report, I would be very I'd be reluctant to do that. I think there's a lot of verbiage in here that's probably not appropriate. So I would definitely take a look. If you have your own,
we have definitely gone through and made our own terms in the contract.
Yeah. So if you have your own, here's what I want to point out. So in these reports that have the two signature versions, we're actually using a sub report in there that has both. So it's a slightly different approach to it. Do me a favor, Dalton, just shoot me a message. I think you have my contact info. And we'll take a look at that with you. It's really easy to fix, but it's maybe more of an advanced topic than we can talk through right now. Now, if we get a few minutes here at the end, I'm happy to do it. Or if there aren't a bunch of questions, I could probably do it. But that was kind of the direction we were trying not to go for this discussion. But I am happy. We'll get you worked out one way or the other.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Who else? There we go. So coming in from Michelle, can you hide the model of products? What was that? Oh, can you hide the model of products and proposals? Yeah, that's a good question too. Thanks. So that's going to be a report definition option. So if I go back to client, let's go back to our proposal and let's go to say to the by location. If I right click and edit, I want you to notice, right here, show model number, show manufacturer, right? Show part number. There's a bunch of options here. So again, investigate, look at how this works. I'm going to set this back to all to simplify this, but I'm going to turn off the model. And then I'm actually going to even turn off the prices. And then let's run it and see what we get. It's going to be a little bit different. And part of the reason it's smart to create your own definitions is as you start to make changes. So again, I'm still running this against change order data. So it's still a change order. But notice it now, it just says Arachnus Networks and it has the description, but the model is gone and there's no price over here for that device. So that's how simple it is to turn it off. But I just want to point out again, because this just says by location, it's not really clear what settings I've set. So a lot of times what I like to do is, if I create a definition, I might call it, by location and something like, no model, no item prices, things like that. Like put some detail in there that helps you understand what you've done, right? Like how have you configured this? And I might even say, summarized, right? And that helps me know that it's, packages and accessories are summarized, something like that. So I can just pick location really quickly. Sorry. And I'll go to my parameters and I'll turn off the model. I'll set it to be summarized. And I'll go ahead and turn off my item prices right there. And let's go ahead and save it. So now I have this new definition with a name that's a little bit easier to understand. When I go to run it, right? Again, this is on the change order, so it's only one line item, I think, but you'll see it's a little bit simpler, right? We get that result that we got before, but now we have a version that's easy to understand when we run it. What's next? I see a bunch of you out there. Chris, Dave, Dom, Drew. I mean, anybody? Jake? Roy? I know you, Roy. I know you have questions. Don't pretend like you don't. Tim? I know you, Tran. Well, there's two Trans, so I don't know. I only know one of you. Anyone?
But as I'm thinking of some more questions, Kevin, I have some questions.
Cool.
Just as I try to, learn a little bit more about the software. But what is, I'm sorry, what's the easiest way, I guess, to change the cover page of an image? And then also, it's a two-part question. Is there a way to change the colors if I wanted to in a report?
Oh, those are great. Yeah. So cover page, right? So you notice the cover
Yes.
page when I ran the proposal, right? So like let's just go back to here. Let's do this real quick. Let's clear out our filters and let's switch it back to items. I hope this was clear, right? So right in here under this report section, the default is items. I can also do filters. If I do like a filter on the quick filters, I can pick filtered items. So whatever I've filtered to will be the report's data source. Selected items, so like before when I selected items, now it's the items that are selected. Here's a couple of other really cool ones, right? Remember, there's a drawing here. So everything on this drawing, I can say my data source is the current drawing page. So the items on the drawing become the source for the report. Think about that. Let's say you had a large project and each page kind of represented either different systems or different rooms, and you wanted to run like a checklist report or something by room, but run it separately. Like each room would be its own report. It's really easy to do. You could just have the drawings, switch to a page, say, hey, my data is my current drawing page, and then go run your report. I'm going to run the proposal report here. But I think this will help. And I did see some questions coming through there. I appreciate it, everybody, for stepping up and helping out because we are here for you. So I'm glad that we got you thinking. Let's see here. So yeah, no, so right, I was able to choose the data source for this report. But let's go back to Trilia's original question here. So let me go back and edit this definition. Let me turn the cover page on. And then let me show you, let me run it real quick. And then you'll see that there is a cover page. And it has this picture of a house. Okay. So then I'm going to click on report settings. I can also go to report settings up here. There's some settings related to that. And there's also a setting here for the cover page image. So let's go into the settings real quick. And I want to point something out, which is that under images, do I display image on the cover page and proposal report? So the default says yes. I can also say no. Or if it's yes, I can select my own image. So let me back out of that real quick. Let's change it to no first. And then let's go ahead and run the report. And we're going to see that there shouldn't be a cover page image now. Okay, it's gone. So that's one option. Another option is we'll set it to yes, but we'll pick a different default. So I'll go here back to yes. And then now when I pick select, I can add. So it's going to let me browse to an image What is that? I don't know. It's a picture of some land. It's fine. So now that's my default cover page. It could be like a logo. It could be a picture of some project that I worked on, right? It could be a lot of things. I'll go ahead and pick it. And now this will be my default. So this is kind of cool that I can switch the default. And this will work for every project moving forward. It'll use whatever picture I choose. Okay, now let's look at the last option, which is even cooler, cover page image up here. So for a specific project, I can say, use the cover page and proposal report images from my global settings, or use a specific cover page for this project, right? So I can come back here and I can add a different report if I can find one. Let me just pull this over here and search for one real quick. Pretty sure I have a logo or something hiding somewhere that I can use. Give me just a second. Yeah, that'll work. So I use my little logo there. Now when I go run the report, it's only for this project. So if I get, you know, a PDF of some drawings, or I drive by a location, maybe I did a site visit and I take a photograph. I can upload that. I can link it up to this project and off I go. And I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, someone, but I think there's a setting where I can set a default by client back in the client settings here. Let's go see if I'm remembering that correctly.
You are.
I am. That's awesome. Thank you, Tamara. I'm going to go back here real quick, and then we'll move on because I know there are a few more questions and I don't want to run out of time. But if I go to people and I go to clients, I can open a client and I can set a default cover page image by client. So like if I work for, Google or Facebook or some company and they have like a cool logo or like, just something that is specific to them, this works really well as a default for them. But then again, I can customize it project by project. Okay, so I know there were some more questions. Before I take those, I want to shamelessly blast the 2026 DTools User Conference that's taking place on February 23rd to 25th next year in Atlanta, Georgia. It's Midtown. It's at a beautiful hotel. There's already a big group of people that have signed up. It's going to be a combination of industry speakers that are going to talk about a lot of great topics. Then we're going to do breakout sessions for our DTools Cloud customers, for our SI customers like you, over the course of a few days. So check it out if you're interested. There's a lot of details here. I think it's going to be great. There's going to be a big group of us there. Many of the people that are here tonight that host these will be there. Come check it out, or if you have more questions, dig in on our website. I just searched for DTools User Conference and found it really easily. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Also, if you're interested in other types of training, we're looking at doing a regional training, one of our 3-day SI training courses, possibly in April in Las Vegas. We're still trying to plan that, and it's just taking a little longer, but that's coming along. So be on the lookout for some information about that. Can someone give me the next question, please? So depending on how you feel about $0 on your report.
Don't read that one. It's I was answering somebody.
Okay.
So
cool.
there are two questions here. Ray asked, can he rename service plan? And Tran asked about your recommended report group to present to a client. He's been using a proposal with images report only.
Tran, I think the proposal with images is a great report, but let's talk a little bit about that really quickly. I think that if I'm going to do a report group, I like a cover page, or I like the option for one. I think it's not a bad idea to possibly have a company profile. And if you're not familiar with that, if you go to the control panel and go to company information, there's a profile section where you can upload an RTF. So you could start with maybe a Word doc that has maybe an image and some sort of a narrative that tells a story about your company. Save it as RTF, just like our scope of works type documents, and you can add it there to the profile, and it will embed it as what we call company profile. So that might be something to investigate. But let's just talk really quickly. So there's proposal, right? And if you notice, when we showed pricing of items, it was the equipment price. Then there's one called proposal install price. And install price is equipment, labor, and adjustments for each item. So if we do proposal install price and there's a line item price, it is the price of all of that. It's the adjusted equipment and labor price. It's effectively the pre-tax total for that item with labor. And then there's a third one, which is equipment and labor. It's 2 columns. So there's 1 column with equipment, 1 column with labor. So the reason I bring this up is there are some options here, right? I would encourage you to look at those. I really do like proposal with images. I think it's cool to be able to tell a story, and you can even use custom images. And if you use packages, you can use custom images in your packages. So hopefully that helps. Come to one of our Q&A sessions, right? Every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, this team hosts Q&A sessions. They're called Gold Support Q&A. Just search DTools Gold Support or DTools Gold Support. You'll find the schedule. Come out and have a deeper conversation about that. I'd encourage you for sure. What else? What was the other one, Tamara?
Roy asked, can I rename service plan? And then we also have a hand up, and we can revisit Tim's question that I answered for the group, depending on how fast we go.
So real quick on service plan. So the question is is that if I'm including service plan in a proposal, can you verify if that's what you mean?
Roy, you'll probably have to chime in here.
Can you give me a reaction there, Roy, on that in the chat maybe? Oh, wait, are you down there? Not name a service plan. I want to rename service plan as it takes up too many letters in QuickBooks job name when importing. So I'm sorry, are you saying that it's an item called service plan that's in your catalog that you're adding to the projects and then it's coming across? But here's what I want to tell you. If it's an item that you're putting in your projects and then it ultimately lands on your estimate in QuickBooks, that gets mapped through a mechanism that maps items from our catalog to the item list in QuickBooks. And there is a way that you can edit that. You can change it in your catalog in SI for the future, and then you can go to QuickBooks and change the name of that item if that's what you're asking.
He said no. Service plan name imports as part of the client name.
I don't, we're kind of out of time on that, Roy, but you know how to reach us and you know how to reach me. Why don't you just send an email with a little description of that, maybe a couple of snapshots. Let's take a look at that because I'm not sure that we're going to get quite to that, but I appreciate it. We'll definitely give you a hand there. Let's see, what else was there? I saw a couple of others. I see, is there a way to show notes or snippets under a location system without having products? I don't know that there is, Tim. With a custom report, we could probably do something like that. Might be worth coming to one of the Q&A sessions and just seeing if we've got a few minutes to kind of investigate that further. It's a little bit of a complicated thing, unfortunately, but I think there's something we could do for you. And there's their hand up. I'm happy to take one final question because we are out of time. Hey, Dom, let me allow your mic. Go ahead and fire away, Dom. You have to unmute your mic.
Yeah. Evening,
there
guys. Just one quick question.
Sure.
Earlier you had the scope per page.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see how you get to that setting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So right here, that's a great question. Thank you for that. So the location manager, and I can get to it from settings, locations as well. And so each location has a description. And I know it says scope, and I was trying to get rid of that earlier. But right there, if I just put a little story right in there under the description, by default, proposal and line item detail reports will include that. Super simple.
Okay, great.
And if it's something that you use again and again, like you have systems that are similar, you can save this as a snippet right here, new snippet. You give it a name, call it like a standard audio room or something, right? Room scope. And then you can have groups in here for like scope statements and things. And you can save it. And then when you go to insert snippets, you can pick it out of a list and it'll automatically, whatever you put in there, it'll put that text in for you. So that's a really cool way to do that. Great question.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dom.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Happy to do it. I hope that got everybody. I think we got through it all. You're welcome, Tran. Thanks for coming out and supporting this. Again, we are here for you, so we're glad that you made it. Sorry, let me get back to my slides, and I just want to say thank you all for being here. That does bring our presentation to a close for tonight, and I just want to sincerely thank all of you for making this SI Evening Edition a success. Keep an eye on your inbox for a follow-up email with all the content links we discussed, like different things. We're going to have videos, all of that. It's going to get posted on our website, and then we'll get an email out to you so you can have access to that and review this content. And as always, let us know how we can continue to support your business. We look forward to seeing you at the next SI Evening Edition. Have a great night.